between 16-kilometer long journey between Gauri Kund and Garud Chatti or the Kedarnath shrine. Now what has happened this time is there was unfortunately an accident. There is an inquiry which is underway. This could well be seen in an inquiry. It would be revealed whether this was controlled flight into terrain. Aviation, especially helicopter flying, is considered risky, sometimes dangerous, especially in high altitude. Yet a large number of pilgrims are taking these helicopters for the Kedarnath shrine. Now these helicopters, whether it is the Bell 407 or the Augusta 117 helicopters, are 6-seater passenger helicopters. They can fly with 2 pilots, usually fly with 1 at these altitudes. Now we are currently at an altitude of about 11,700 feet at the Kedarnath shrine, and on an average there are 170 to 200 passengers who fly with every aviation company every day, and there are 9 aviation companies that are flying. The cost is about 4,500 for a return trip from Guptkashi or around to the Kedarnath shrine and back. About that unfortunate incident that took place, that crash that recently took place, that's still under investigation. But some of the pilots we spoke to say that multiple helicopters were in the air that time, and what had happened was the pilot chose to turn back. Mountains, as you know, make their own weather, and suddenly the weather packed up. Suddenly there was a thick cover of cloud that descended. Now if my camera person just turns around and shows you, these helicopters fly through a very narrow valley, and when that valley is covered with clouds, the pilots try to fly above or below, and they try to land at the nearest helipad. In that instance, this time, there was an unfortunate accident, which is a matter of investigation. However, the moment preliminary reasons were known, the helicopters are flying once again. We too flew on board an Augusta helicopter and landed safely, as are hundreds of pilgrims every day at Kedarnath. The effort now is to make multiple helipads here. Now this is being developed as a very major religious tourism center. So there is a helipad here. There is a bigger helipad just down the road from here. Usually it takes about it's 16 kilometers, takes about 7 to 8 hours to climb from 9,000 feet to 11,700 feet. But that distance is reduced to mere 10 minutes on board a helicopter. The Prime Minister will also be flying on board an Indian Air Force helicopter when he arrives here. With cameraman Mahesh Chand Kantpal at the Kedarnath Dham, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. As you see now, that's a service helicopter that is coming in. This is a chopper of the Indian Air Force which is coming in, and these heavy lift, medium lift transport helicopters are the ones that will bring in the Prime Minister. This is an Indian Air Force helicopter, a Mi-17 of the Indian Air Force, and this Mi-17 will not only bring in officials but also bring in equipment when the Prime Minister comes in. With cameraman Mahesh Chand Kantpal at the Kedarnath Dham, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. Not every pilgrim, of course, takes the helicopter, and not just because it may be expensive, but there's also Astha. My colleague Shubhankar Mishra also joins me on the broadcast. Shubhankar and I, we've both been here before. But before I come to Shubhankar, I want to come to these pilgrims who walked. And you've come from Calcutta, from Kolkata.
I mean, Kolkata. Now, in Bengal, this is called Kolkata.
Right. अच्छा, आप पैदल चल के आई कि आप हेलीकॉप्टर में?
मैं पैदल चल के आई. मेरा सपना ही था बाबा के पास अगर जाना है तो मेरे को पैदल चल के जाना है. और मेरे को एक विश्वास होता है, जो है ना आत्मा, अहम जो होता है उन्हीं से होता है, अगर वो नहीं रहे तो हम कुछ नहीं है। तो उन्हीं को छूना, उन्हीं के पास आना, एंड इस बिग चैलेंज। और हर पल जो है शक्ति जो है, बाबा जो भी बोले आप, परीक्षा लेते हैं हमारे।
आपकी आयु कितनी है, मैं पूछ सकता हूँ?
हाँ जरूर। आई एम 63, माई हस्बैंड 70।
तो 70 years of age and you walked these 16 kilometers from Gaurikund?
Yeah, from Gaurikund to Kedarnath, because this is the confidence I have, growth, my confidence. I can. That is my to Kedarnath.
One thing, I can नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से हमसे होगा ये बात, उन्हीं से आता है कि हमसे होगा, वो देते हैं, मेरे को लेना है कि हाँ हम जो होता, हाँ आत्मविश्वास, कॉन्फिडेंस जो भी बोले उन्हीं के पास है, उन्हीं से मेरे को लेना है।
पड़ रही है,
हाँ
बर्फ भी पड़ रही है,
नथिंग
भी है,
उन्हीं का आशीर्वाद है, देन है, सब कुछ। हम जो भी बोले, हम खड़े हुए ना, बस एनर्जी।
हम लोग 16 घंटा पैदल चल के आए, 16 घंटे। 4 बजे निकले, 7:30 बजे हम पहुंचे हैं।
ये है आस्था।
7 बजे हम लोग स्टार्ट किया और 7 बजे हम लोग पहुंचा, क्योंकि उन लोगों के साथ भी धीरे धीरे हम लोगों को भी आना चाहिए था, तो ऐसे ही हम लोग आए। तो ये एक्चुअली आस्था ही है।
कैसा रहा दर्शन?
दर्शन अभी करने जा रहे हैं।
आप दर्शन
तो बाबा इतना दूर बुलाया तो अब दर्शन भी अच्छा ही होगा, तो इसके लिए बाबा को
ईश्वर करे बहुत अच्छा दर्शन हो आपका। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और बहुत बहुत बधाई। इट्स एक्सट्रीमली डिफिकल्ट फॉर सीनियर सिटीजंस, इन सम इंस्टेंसेस सुपर सीनियर सिटीजंस, टू वॉक 16 hours it took them to cover these 16 kilometers, but and yet they've done it. शुभांकर, यही तो आस्था का सैलाब है यहाँ पर कि हजारों की संख्या में श्रद्धालु यहाँ पहुंच रहे हैं। शुभांकर,
देखिए गौरव, बर्फबारी जो है वो भी हल्की हल्की शुरू हो गई, और जैसा कि हम और आप जानते हैं दोपहर के बाद यहाँ मौसम बदलने वाला है। वादी आपने दिखा दी, आप सैलाब की बात कर ली, लेकिन सैलाब का जिक्र है तो सौगातों का भी जिक्र होना चाहिए। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं, और जो जानकारी मेरे पास आई है 3400 करोड़ की परियोजना जो है उनका वो यहाँ पर शिलान्यास करने वाले। ये मंदिर जो है, एक बात भक्तों को फिर से दिखा देते हैं, देखिए ये मंदिर है, घंटे यहाँ पर बज रहे हैं, लोग यहाँ पहुंचे हुए हैं, कतार जो है लंबी यहाँ पर है, बड़ी संख्या में आपको युवा नजर आते हैं। 14 लाख से ऊपर लोग गौरव यहां आ चुके हैं, और जो हादसा हुआ था उसके बाद भी भक्ति जो है वो अपने उफान पर है। लोगों का विश्वास जो है वो बना हुआ है यहां पर। लेकिन एक खास बात मैं बताना चाहूंगा आपके दर्शकों को, इंडिया टुडे के दर्शकों को, कि प्रधानमंत्री का ये 6ठा दौरा है। इससे पहले भी जैसा गौरव आप लगातार 2013 के बाद से आते रहे, पीएम भी यहां पर आते रहे। देखिए यहां पर जयकारा भी लग रहा है,
जय श्री शंभू,
जय श्री केदारनाथ। यहाँ पर जोश जो है वो बर्फबारी में कम नहीं हो रहा है, लोगों का उत्साह जो पूरा है। और जैसा कि हमने कहा, सैलाब के साथ सौगात भी है। प्रधानमंत्री यहाँ पहुंचेंगे तो रोपवे परियोजना का यहाँ पर शिलान्यास किया जाएगा। उसके बाद यहाँ की यात्रा जो है थोड़ी और ज्यादा सुगम हो जाएगी, क्योंकि यहाँ आने में मुश्किलों का सामना करना पड़ता है। 16 घंटे लोगों ने लगाए हैं यहाँ पहुंचने के लिए, लेकिन इस परियोजना के बाद यहाँ थोड़ी सी आसानी हो जाएगी। और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी, जिनके बारे में हम सभी जानते हैं कि वो महाकाल के केदारनाथ के बहुत बड़े भक्त हैं, हर साल कपाट खुलने के पहले या कपाट बंद होने के पहले वो यहाँ आते हैं। इस बार भी वो आ रहे हैं, लेकिन इस बार जब वो लौट रहे हैं गौरव, तब सौगात ला रहे हैं। एक बार जल्दी से मैं आपको जानकारी दे देता हूँ। सुबह कहा जा रहा है 8:30 बजे कल प्रधानमंत्री मोदी केदारनाथ मंदिर पहुंचेंगे, दर्शन पूजन होगा, और फिर इसके बाद केदारनाथ रोपवे परियोजना की सौगात जो है वो सौंप दी जाएगी। इसके बाद प्रधानमंत्री मोदी आदि गुरु शंकराचार्य के समाधि स्थल जाएंगे, मंदाकिनी और सरस्वती के किनारे चल रहे विकास कार्यों की समीक्षा करेंगे, और फिर यहां से गौरव 11:30 बजे वो बद्रीनाथ रुक कर जाएंगे, बद्रीनाथ में रुकेंगे। लेकिन केदारनाथ की भूमि जो है वहां से तस्वीरें दिखाते हुए मैं आपको छोड़ता हूं। गौरव,
it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, as my colleague Shubhankar Mishra describes the faith that people have, and of course the faith that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has in Bhagwan Kedar. He's been coming here virtually every year. Even as Chief Minister of Gujarat, he came here in 2013. That time he was Chief Minister. That time the effort was to rescue as many people as possible, and a promise that was made, and I've been interacting very extensively with those who've been involved in the redevelopment of the Kedar Dham, and they say that the Prime Minister has been taking meetings, assessment reports, KRA given to officials to be able to deliver on this project. So the initial route, and we've walked on the initial route also, that was tougher. The incline, the gradient, that was much sharper. Now the incline is more, the gradient is more gentle. Of course, it's a longer route now, but look at the number of pilgrims who are coming, especially the senior citizens. Look around. There are people who are here from Tamil Nadu, from Karnataka, from Andhra Pradesh, from West Bengal, from Uttarakhand, from the national capital Delhi, from Uttar Pradesh, from different parts of the country, because this is the place which is virtually a melting pot of devotion and devotees from across the country. One of the pilgrims I spoke to told me that she has already visited, and she's a senior citizen, she's already visited 6 Jyotirlings. She wants to be able to visit all the Jyotirlings, and she's touching 70. So that's the faith, that's the astha that people have. And that's also one reason that despite the helicopter crash, the enthusiasm of the devotees and the pilgrims hasn't reduced. I spoke to some of the devotees. Let's listen in. आपके मन में कोई भय था जब आप लोग यहाँ आए, वो भी जब हेलीकॉप्टर क्रैश हुआ?
थोड़ा सा था, थोड़ा माइंड में लग रहा था कि कहीं कुछ मिसहैपनिंग हम लोगों के साथ भी नहीं हो जाए, बट ऑल वाज वेल.
ऑल वाज वेल. आपको डर था?
नहीं, बिल्कुल थोड़ा सा लगा था शुरू में, लेकिन उम्र के हिसाब से ये लगा भी जो लोग हो देगा, बाकी ठीक रहा, जो भी रहा ना सब बहुत अच्छा रहा.
आपके मन में कोई भय था? Were you scared about flying?
हाँ, भय था, फिर भी अच्छा लगा.
क्या सोच के आपने ये फ्लाइट ली?
जल्दी जल्दी पहुंच जाऊं यहाँ से
जी,
और जल्दी जल्दी दर्शन कर लूं.
तो जल्दी पहुंचे, जल्दी दर्शन कर ले. It of course is a long journey. It's 16 kilometers, takes about 7 hours. आपको डर लग रहा था हेलीकॉप्टर फ्लाइंग में, या हेलीकॉप्टर फ्लाइंग ज्यादा आसान है कंपेयर टू पैदल चल के आना?
मुझे लगता है कि दोनों चीज का आपको एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए, चाहे पैदल का हो चाहे हेली का हो. तो मैं कल बाय वॉक आई हूँ और आज मैं थ्रू हेली जा रही हूँ. तो मुझे लगता है जैसे पहले भी क्रैश हुआ था परसों, लेकिन मुझे लगता है मेरी भक्ति के आगे कुछ नहीं है, मेरी भक्ति के आगे कुछ है ही नहीं.
Were you scared to fly in a helicopter here?
No, not really scared. Anxious for sure. A little nervous as well, but definitely not scared. This is my first helicopter ride. The news that we heard day before did disturb us a little bit. But then because I had senior citizens, I could not afford to become nervous myself. Anxious, yes, but...
Anxious but not scared. What about you, Tanmay?
Almost the same. I also travel with him, with all the senior citizens, family with us. So it was a bit nervous initially when we heard the news the day before. But after when the chopper flew, it was all amazing.
What was the journey like? It's just 10 minutes, but it's an experience of a lifetime.
It is actually, what we've seen throughout, it was like a bird's eye view, and we couldn't ever see that if we walked along the entire path. So it was really amazing.
And the hundreds of devotees who are here, they're all very keen to ring the bell. We did that on our way in. We are doing that on our way out. जो श्रद्धालु यहाँ पर आए हैं, वो आपके दर्शन हो गए? कैसे रहे दर्शन?
बहुत भव्य दर्शन हुए, बहुत सुंदर.
आप तो बिल्कुल भावुक हो गए दर्शन के बाद.
नहीं, भावुक तो छड़ी भावना से आदमी आता ही है, इतने कष्ट और परेशानी है.
आपके दर्शन हो गए? कैसे रहे दर्शन?
बहुत अच्छे से हुए.
अच्छे से दर्शन हुए?
बहुत अच्छे से.
आपके भी हो गए?
बिल्कुल सर, बहुत अच्छे दर्शन हुए, कोई कठिनाई नहीं हुई.
दर्शन हो गए. अब ये श्रद्धालु कहाँ से आए आप लोग?
हरियाणा से.
आप हरियाणा से आए हैं? अब वापस जा रहे हैं दर्शन के बाद?
हाँ जी, अब वापस आएंगे.
महाकाल की टी शर्ट अलग से पहनी हुई है इन श्रद्धालुओं ने. पुलिस वाले भी काफी संख्या में हैं क्योंकि कल प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी यहां पहुंचेंगे. बट आई ऑल्सो वांट टू टेल आवर व्यूअर्स दैट द प्राइम मिनिस्टर फ्रॉम द होली Kedarnath will then travel first to Badrinath and then of course also to Ayodhya, where there will be a grand Depotsav. Now at the Depotsav, a world record will be set with more than 16 lakh diyas that will be lit, each with 40 ml of oil in it. And various school children are being roped in to be a part of the Depotsav. I bring you this report of the Depotsav at Ayodhya.
With Diwali approaching, the splendid Ram Mandir's construction underway, ghats of Saryu illuminated, and the whole city dolled up. Ayodhya is all set to celebrate Depotsav. Setting a target to illuminate over 15 lakh diyas on October 23rd, over 20,000 volunteers of Awadh University are trying to break the record they have set. Ayodhya had earlier lit 9.5 lakh earthen lamps in 2020, while in 2019, 5.84 lakh diyas were lit.
This time, this Depotsav has become more important with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's presence, where Uttar Pradesh is targeting to lit approximately 16 to 17 lakhs of diyas, and that is something which is going to be a grand affair this time as far as Depotsav is concerned.
Ayodhya will witness Ram Leela performances from 8 states across the country. Ramayan will be narrated through laser and light shows.
देखिए, सबसे पहली बात तो कि हम लोग बड़ा गर्व महसूस कर रहे हैं कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी छठे दीपोत्सव में आ रहे हैं। ये जरूर है कि थोड़ा दबाव हम लोगों पर और बढ़ा हुआ है, लेकिन ये बड़े गर्व का क्षण होगा जब वो दिया जला करके दीपोत्सव का शुभारंभ करेंगे।
With Prime Minister Narendra Modi set to attend the events, there is much enthusiasm in Ayodhya. This is also the first Depotsav of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's second term.
हम लोगों की अपार प्रसन्नता है हम लोग के अंदर में कि अयोध्या जिस प्रकार से एक सनातन धर्म संस्कृति का हब है, प्राचीनतम पौराणिक, और जिस प्रकार से देश के प्रधानमंत्री जी रहेंगे उस कार्यक्रम में, तो देश के प्रधानमंत्री जी को कोट-कोट आभार और धन्यवाद, और मुख्यमंत्री जी को आभार और धन्यवाद.
Keeping the high-profile visit of Prime Minister Modi in mind, the district administration has tightened security in the holy city.
सर पे तैयारियां हो रही हैं और लंबे समय से उसकी तैयारियां हो रही हैं, और आपकी शुभकामनाओं से और इसी उम्मीद के साथ कि एक विहंगम अवसर है दीपोत्सव, एक उत्सव है, बड़ा उत्सव है पूरे समाज के लिए, सभी के लिए, वैसे ही उसी का अनुरूप कार्यक्रम है.
Ever since Yogi Adityanath came to power in 2017, Ayodhya has witnessed grand Diwali celebrations every year.
This time, in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Depotsav is going to be a grand affair, and for that preparations are being made in full swing to make it a significant and a big one. In Ayodhya with cameraman Neeraj Kumar, Abhishek Mishra for India Today.
And the devotees, before praying to Lord Kedar, are also praying to Nandi. It's also said that whenever you have a prayer, you whisper it in Nandi's ear, and Nandiji carries your prayer to Bhagwan Kedar. We will continue to report from Ground Zero, but that is all I have time for on this special broadcast from Kedarnath. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
La main des aides-soignants. Pourquoi? Parce que les aides-soignants, aujourd'hui, ils sont globalement sous l'eau. Ils ne peuvent plus faire leur métier qui est de soigner. Et donc nous, Emobots, on leur fournit cette information de l'état émotionnel. Ils vont pouvoir mieux comprendre l'évolution de l'émotion de leurs résidents, de leurs patients. Et derrière, on sera aussi capable d'objectiver. C'est-à-dire qu'aujourd'hui, quand on fait un test pour la dépression, c'est un test normé, ponctuel, où on demande à la personne de verbaliser les informations. Et donc ça pose plein de problèmes. Et notamment des difficultés pour les personnes qui ne peuvent pas verbaliser.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
OLX Autos.
We all consume pills at some point in time. It could be vitamins or it could be medicines, pills for some ailment. But did you know that your posture while consuming that pill is extremely important? How you take your pills may affect how they work. According to a recent study published in the journal Physics of Fluids, the position of your body when you swallow a pill has a direct bearing on how effectively it is working. The team actually tested 4 postures to understand absorption of the medicine: standing, sitting upright, lying down, turn to the right, lying down, turn to the left. Essentially, what they found was that lying to the left and leaning towards the left was the worst position to be in after consuming a pill. It took up to 5 times longer to absorb pills compared to when they were taken in an upright posture. Well, if the pill lands very close to the lowest part of the stomach, the faster it's going to dissolve and empty its contents into the small intestine. Most of the drugs are actually absorbed in the small intestine. Thanks to gravity and the natural unevenness of the stomach, it makes sense that the position you're in when you take a pill could affect how it makes its way through your GI system.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now.
Very good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal taking you through the top news. The headlines first. After Bhagwat. Now, this purported clip of Jayalalitha goes viral. Coughing and visibly irritated Jayalalitha speaks to doctors as they perform some tests on her. India Today's mega political news break. Columnist's big claim by Secrecy Act breach made by, in fact, this columnist accuses Sonia Gandhi of breaching the Secrecy Act under the UPA era, calls this a way of Sonia Gandhi acting as de facto Prime Minister during Manmohan Singh's tenure. Congress calls these baseless allegations. Cracker ban hypocrisy on full display in Delhi, ban for Aam Aadmi, but crackers burst to welcome new Mantri. Delhi air quality worsens as stubble burning begins around the NCR region. After Bhagwat, Hosapele reignites the population debate. RSS leader blames Bangladesh immigrants, calls for anti-conversion law. And father of a 4-year-old girl who was raped by a school principal's driver calls for encounter justice for daughter. Asks cops to shoot down the brutes who raped the girl. And after China shields Lashkar chief's son, Secretary General of the United Nations, Guterres, breaks his silence, calls for global cooperation against terror, condemns geopolitical divide. Here's some big news coming in after Afridi in Pakistan board threat. Ex-Pakistan cricketers boycott call grows. Kamran Akmal calls for the World Cup match boycott. Akmal says boycott T20 World Cup game against India. In fact, Pakistan board must take a stronger stance. This is the big news that we're currently tracking after Afridi and Pakistan board threat. Now, we see another Pakistan cricketer, ex-Pakistan cricketer, echoing these boycott calls. Kamran Akmal calls for the boycott of the World Cup match. Akmal says boycott T20 game against India. Pakistan board must take a stronger stance. Shah's boycott Asia Cup in Pakistan irks Pakistan. In fact, after India says that they should be boycotting Pakistan. Now Pakistan returning with their anger, saying that Pakistan must boycott India in the games. In fact, he says that boycott T20 World Cup game against India. This is precisely what he said. Let me take you through what exactly he said.
किसी को जैसे उनके अंडर है क्रिकेट, उनके चीफ हैं जय शाह, लेकिन उनको ऐसी स्टेटमेंट देनी नहीं चाहिए। वो सियासत ज़रूर करें, जिनके वो बेटे हैं ज़रूर करें। ऑपोजिशन जो उनकी इंडिया में है उनके खिलाफ करें, ना कि आप क्या नाम है इंटरनेशनली क्रिकेट को, स्पोर्ट्स को सियासत में लेके आएंगे तो फिर वो अच्छा मैसेज नहीं है।
All right, let me quickly cut across to Nikhil Naz, joining us for more on that. Nikhil, a quick word. We see now Pakistan has reacted strongly to India's boycott calls. Now, they say that we want to boycott the T20 World Cup game against India. Tell us a little more on this whole controversy.
Well, Namila, it's a bit ironic, that I'm coming to you live from Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is right behind me, one of the most iconic cricket venues. This is going to be the venue which is going to be hosting arguably the biggest game on the planet, because it is expected to be watched by most number of people. It's going to be a record-breaking encounter. And guess which are the two teams playing? It's India and Pakistan. And here we are also talking about boycotting India versus Pakistan game. So as things stand right now, reporting to you live from Australia in Melbourne, the venue of that India-Pakistan encounter, these sort of noises are only in the periphery. What you heard from Kamran Akmal may not hold true of what right now the PCB may be feeling, or what right now is the status of the current India-Pakistan game that will be played here at the T20 World Cup. That's pretty much on. I think the only hindrance in that game would be the weather, because it's expected to rain, but nothing more than that. Now coming to the Asia Cup, and I know that India has made it very clear that the Asia Cup that is supposed to be held in Pakistan in 2023, India couldn't be going there. That's because of the current political situation that we have. And this is a standard response that we've seen from India. And this is a sort of thing that they've followed for a few years now, where they haven't had bilateral series with Pakistan. They've played in multinational tournaments, but not bilateral. Now, Asia Cup, many would argue, is a multinational tournament. So why would India want to be playing there? And that is something that Jay Shah, who's the secretary of the board, made it very clear is something that the government has decided. And at the moment, the Indian government has decided not to send the team to Pakistan. Now, if you look at the Asia Cup per se, it's a tournament that is run just between a few limited countries in Asia. And we haven't seen an Asia Cup either in India or in Pakistan, probably because of the reasons that both teams would right now not be wanting to play in each other's homeland. And that's why we haven't seen it. So I did not find that surprising that the Asian Cricket Council or the BCCI decided not to play the Asia Cup game in Pakistan. But if you're going to extend extend it to the ICC tournament, then I'd say that that'd be pushing too much, and that would be a bit of an overreaction coming from Pakistan. 2025 is when Pakistan is hosting the ICC Champions Trophy, and even though it's pretty early to say that, but I doubt the Indian team will not be traveling for that, because that's an ICC tournament. So the stand is pretty clear that in ICC tournaments, so long as it's safe to travel to Pakistan, most likely you'll see an Indian team going there. And so before that, Pakistan to boycott, saying that, listen, we won't play the 2023 World Cup in India, or boycott this particular game that you'll have in the T20 World Cup in Australia, I think is an overreaction. And I think it comes from certain players that may not be in tune with what the governments of both countries decide, or what even the cricket boards of those two countries decide. So I think ICC tournaments are not going to be an issue. I think India will play Pakistan, maybe even in Pakistan in 2025 Champions Trophy. The issue right now is Asia Cup, which is just a continental tournament, and bilateral series, and that's the stand that has been there throughout for a long time. So nothing much has changed in that. And so then when you look at the reaction coming from Pakistan, it does seem to be a bit of an exaggeration.
But Nikhil, I'd really like to ask you: Is this a real possibility for India and Pakistan really not to play a match? This grouse that they have with one another. Eventually, what we see on field is possibly the most watched. When India and Pakistan plays, the entire world takes note of it. So for them to boycott one another, is there even a possibility for this to be a cancelled show?
No, not so far as the T20 World Cup game that will be played in a few days' time right here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. I don't see any possibility there. There's no statement that has come out from the PCB or any of the team members that are right now part of this World Cup. Remember, all teams are already in Australia. So that game is not under doubt. What you're getting to hear from Pakistan, and mostly former players that don't have any skin in the game as far as the decisions taken by the Pakistan cricket board is concerned, they've come out and said, and this is a bit reciprocal after India decided not to travel for the Asia Cup to be held in Pakistan. I think for India not to travel to Asia Cup, there is a precedent there. We have seen Asia Cups being shifted out of the venues that they had already been decided earlier. Pakistan was the host; it was shifted out, so it's not out of the usual. I think it is it's a bit of hyperbole at the moment. So Asia Cup moving out is something that has been done before. But if you're going to mix it with an ICC tournament, and I think that's the mistake that most former players are doing, I think that would be an exaggeration. That would be pushing it a bit too far. As I said, India play a T20 World Cup game here, India-Pakistan. They will go ahead and play that. Most likely, you will see India and Pakistan play in the T20 World Cup in a 50-over format in the 2023 World Cup. That will take place in India. And then you will also have a scenario where India could travel to Pakistan in 2025 to play the Champions Trophy. Remember, all these tournaments that I'm talking to you about are ICC tournaments. And I think the Indian stand is pretty clear that ICC tournaments, multinational tournaments, and if Pakistan is in their group or they come across Pakistan, they will play that. It's only bilateral series that's been an issue, and it's also sometimes extended to an Asia Cup, which is a continental tournament in which India and Pakistan play a major role, in which case you can shift the venue outside to a neutral venue just so as to avoid India and Pakistan playing each other on each other's home turf. So I think we're mixing a couple of issues, and a lot of former players are guilty of doing that. But overall, I think a better sense is going to prevail, and all the big tournaments that you see, all the big encounters in ICC, they should go ahead as planned.
All right, stay with us, Nikhil. I'm going to quickly cut across to Kamran Akmal, former Pakistani cricketer, who's very strongly said that if India is going to be boycotting the Asia Cup and refuses to travel to Pakistan, then we too must boycott the T20 World Cup series coming soon. Listen in.
नहीं तो मैं तो ये कहूंगा कि पाकिस्तान को उनके साथ किसी इवेंट में नहीं खेलना चाहिए,
चाहे वो इंटरनेशनल इवेंट हो, चाहे वर्ल्ड कप हो,
चाहे आईसीसी का हो, चाहे एशिया कप का हो। अभी जो 23 को मैच है, अगर वो वापस नहीं लेते स्टेटमेंट, तो 23 को भी मैं कहूंगा कि नहीं खेलना चाहिए। नहीं तो मैं तो ये कहूंगा कि पाकिस्तान को उनके साथ किसी इवेंट में नहीं खेलना चाहिए,
चाहे वो इंटरनेशनल इवेंट हो, चाहे वर्ल्ड कप हो,
चाहे आईसीसी का हो, चाहे एशिया कप का हो। अभी जो 23 को मैच है, अगर वो वापस नहीं लेते स्टेटमेंट, तो 23 को भी मैं कहूंगा कि नहीं खेलना चाहिए।
Right now, Pakistan Cricket Board is rattled after BCCI's sudden announcement that India will not travel to Pakistan for next year's Asia Cup. The PCB has now come up with its response to that and has threatened that even they will not reciprocate in the same manner, or they will reciprocate in the same manner. They also want to boycott next year's ODI World Cup, which is scheduled to take place in India. Here's a full report.
Pakistan is miffed and is once again doing what it does best, crying foul. Not because they've lost to India in a World Cup game, but they are annoyed with the clout that the BCCI enjoys in the world. A day after BCCI Secretary Jai Shah announced that India will not travel to Pakistan for next year's Asia Cup, Pakistan Cricket Board is trying its best to woo the fans back home. PCB has written a strongly worded letter to the Asian Cricket Council expressing its annoyance over BCCI Secretary Jai Shah's announcement on Tuesday and has threatened to boycott the ODI World Cup, which is scheduled to take place in India next year. In fact, PCB has asked for an emergency meeting of all the stakeholders in the Asian Cricket Council to discuss the matter and has threatened that moving the Asia Cup out of Pakistan can have serious implications. The boycott threat is not just restricted to the ODI World Cup next year, but it extends to the other ICC tournaments that India is scheduled to host in the cycle from 2024 to 2031. Jai Shah is not only the BCCI secretary, but is also the president of the Asia Cricket Council, and PCB is unlikely to get anything positive out of the meeting if they actually get a hearing at all. While India will not travel to Pakistan, doesn't mean that Asia Cup will not take place. As Jai Shah said, the tournament will be held at a neutral venue, which isn't unprecedented. Asian cricket has already been struggling with Sri Lanka and Bangladesh cricket boards down in dumps, and Pakistan, after being a pariah for so many years, has only recently managed to get international teams to tour their country. PCB is well aware of its status in comparison to the BCCI, and Ramiz Raja, the chairman of the PCB, is only playing to the galleries to get some support from his countrymen. When the time comes, the bluff will be called next year and the Asia Cup will be held at a neutral venue, and Pakistan will travel to India for the ODI World Cup, as has always been the case. Sports Bureau, India Today.
Now, as China has put on hold several attempts to blacklist terrorists at the UN, India today spoke to the UN chief of the global fight against terror. In fact, UN Chief Antonio Guterres, when asked about China blocking attempts to blacklist terrorists, has said that the world needs more international cooperation in the fight against terrorism, and it cannot accept the geopolitical divides to compartmentalize the issue of terrorism. Now, in the latest, China has put a hold on India and America's bid to blacklist Hafiz Salah Saeed at the UNSC. Hafiz Salah Saeed is basically a senior leader of the LET and a son of dreaded terror chief Hafiz Saeed. And this comes after Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist Shahid Mahmood was also shielded by China at the United Nations. This year alone, China has blocked at least 4 of India and the United States sanctions bid at the United Nations. This includes the move to designate India's most wanted terrorist and main handler in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, Sajid Mir. In June this year, China has also placed a technical hold on a US-backed proposal to blacklist Abdul Rauf Azhar, the brother of Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar.
You began your visit by going to the Taj Hotel and paying your respect to the victims of 26/11 attacks. And it comes at a time when India still has not got justice when it comes to perpetrators either being booked or being sanctioned by the United Nations Security Council. The recent news of another individual's designation being blocked by China is a concern for India. How do you view the idea of good terrorists, bad terrorists, somebody's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist? The distinctions clearly are a problem in fighting and tackling terrorism, sir.
I think it's necessary to increase international cooperation in fighting terrorism. Terrorism became a global phenomenon. Terrorists are able to move from country to country, from area to area, from Afghanistan to Syria, from Syria to Libya, from Libya to the Sahel, then back to Yemen or Afghanistan. And they use the most sophisticated instruments. Unfortunately, we do not have yet enough international cooperation in relation to fighting against terrorism and in relation to creating the conditions for effective accountability. That is the reason why my first reform when I became Secretary General was the creation of the Office of Counterterrorism. And today the office has a meaningful capacity to cooperate with member states and to support member states, especially in training, in advice, in relation to counterterrorism policies and in relation to the prevention of violent extremism that sometimes is the root of terrorist activities. But we need more international cooperation and we need more accountability.
You spoke about the counter-terrorism architecture that has been put in place, but the United Nations and the world is yet to decide on a definition of terrorism itself. In such a scenario, do you think there are challenges in the existing architecture of counter-terrorism itself?
There is a problem indeed to have a consensus on the definition of terrorism, and that has to do with politics. But we all know what terrorism is, so that does not, in my opinion, make it difficult for us to work together effectively against terrorism. What we need is, as I said, much more international cooperation in the fight against terrorism, and we cannot accept the geopolitical divides to make the fight against terrorism kind of in different compartments, because the terrorists are global, so we need to have a global response. And the problems that exist in relation to the definition are problems that have to do with, I would say, some internal questions in some states, but that is not a reason not to be effective in fighting terrorism.
Now, as China has put on hold several attempts to blacklist terrorists at the UN, India Today's conversation there, you heard, with the UN chief on the global fight against terror, Antonio Guterres, speaking to my colleague Geeta Mohan, when asked about China blocking attempts to blacklist terrorists, said the world needs more international cooperation in the fight against terrorism, and it cannot accept geopolitical divides to compartmentalize the issue of terrorism. Now, in the latest, as we know, this comes on the heels of China putting a hold on India and America's bid to blacklist Hafiz Salah Saeed at the UNSC. So Hafiz Salah Saeed basically is a senior leader of the LET, the son of dreaded terror chief Hafiz Saeed, and now China blocking India's attempt to blacklist him. Let me cut across to Geeta Mohan, who just spoke with Antonio Guterres, the UN chief. Geeta, a quick word. You were speaking to the UN chief. What really did you gather of his of the interview, where he says that the world must unite against terrorism? Somehow China seems to be acting offline.
Well, the specific question to him was the fact that a day before, China had blocked one Shahid Mahmood, another terrorist very close to Sajid Mir, and to which he said that geopolitical divides are the reason why there is no honest, sincere effort to tackle terrorism. A huge statement coming in from the United Nations Secretary General, as and when we see China continuing to place technical holds on Pak-based terrorists. It happened yesterday, it happened the day before as well. And so the reaction of the United Nations Secretary General speaks volumes of the structure and the architecture of the Security Council, and how all these decisions are not based on the fact that there is paucity of evidence. It is based on the fact that these are political decisions taken by countries, and therefore a straight message to China to stop playing politics.
Right, Geeta, thank you very much for joining us with those details. All right, coming up on the other side of a short break, custodial torture coming in from Kerala. This shocker where men were falsely accused in a case and beaten up brutally in custody. More details up next.
This Diwali, fire up your Muhurat trading.
This Diwali, celebrate the victory of good investment. Welcome Devi Mahalakshmi into your homes this Diwali.
Sweeten your portfolio this Diwali with Business Today TV.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected.
Some news coming in from Kerala. In an alleged custodial torture case, 4 policemen of Kilikolur police station in Kollam were transferred. An internal inquiry has proven that 2 men named Vishnu and Vignesh, brothers, were falsely accused by sub-officers, were subjected to brutal treatment. On August 25th, Vignesh was called to the police station to bail out an accused in drug peddling case. Since it was a drug peddling case, he denied. In fact, meanwhile, Vignesh's older brother, Vishnu, had come in search of him, citing that this was basically a made-up allegation against him. The ASI Prakash Chandran had a fight with Vishnu, then he later dragged the 2 brothers to the police station and have brutally beaten them. They believe that the policeman was in an inebriated state. The duo were later found, in fact, they were tortured inside the police station for hours. Vishnu is a Jawan in the army and Vignesh has made it to the police list as well. Vignesh said that he was suffering extreme pain and was not able to do his daily activities after this brutal attack by the police for no fault of theirs. The police's version is that the brothers who arrived to bail the drug peddling accused attacked the officers inside the station. So basically they've put a counter charge on these 2 brothers, saying that they were the ones who attacked the police and therefore the police had to beat them. Kollam City Police Commissioner Marin Joseph will be submitting a report today on the issue to State Police Chief. Shibi Mole joining us live for more. Shibi, 2 brothers pulled inside a police station and brutally beaten, and it appears for no fault of theirs. The police now justifying, saying that they attacked the police and therefore they were dealt with.
Well, yes. In fact, this incident took place in August, just before Onam, is what what Vignesh was saying. In fact, he was called to the police station to bail out a native of his by a policeman who he knew personally also. And since he's already made it, since Vignesh, the younger brother, has already made it to the police list, he denied, saying that, I don't want to be involved in a drug peddling case, and that's why I'm leaving. And his brother, who came in search of him, was dragged to the police station. In fact, Vignesh has described this entire scene, saying that they were brutally attacked. They were kept in custody for 12 days and they were brutally attacked. The police people, a lot of the policemen inside the police station, in fact, asked their seniors to stop this because they were not able to see or accept what was going on. And a lot of them inside the police station itself left the station because they were not able to see and comprehend what was going on. And Vignesh has also said that in fact, his brother is an army person, and when he said that, I work in the army, the policeman said that, I don't care whether you work in the army or not, and that's why you're showing this attitude. You should come to the station, and that's how they were dragged to the station. And now
so basically, an army officer has been beaten up. That's highly tragic. If the police is in the wrong, and if the police officer was indeed in a drunken state and reacted out of sheer ego, then he must be dealt with. For now, we believe they've been suspended. Investigation under this is underway. Now, some big news coming in from Kerala. Kerala's governor's big secularism dig. Governor Arif Mohammed calls out pseudo-secularism. Arif says no secularism when Muslims are in majority. Governor says Muslims secular only when in minority. Kerala governor claims secularism hypocrisy. Massive row has erupted over secularism jibe.
कभी दूसरे के साथ वो मत करिए जो आप अपने साथ नहीं चाहते। वैलुल्लिल मुतफ्फिफीन, कुरान लानत भेजता है उनके ऊपर जो डबल स्टैंडर्ड अपनाते हैं। ये नहीं हो सकता कि मेरी मेजोरिटी अगर है तो सेकुलरिज्म कुफ्र है, और मैं माइनॉरिटी में अगर हूं तो सेकुलरिज्म एन शरीयत बन जाता है। ये कैसे? अगर कोई चीज अच्छी है तो पूरी दुनिया के लिए अच्छी है, अच्छी नहीं है तो किसी के लिए भी अच्छी नहीं। और आज देखिए आपके सामने मिसाल, कोई दूर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। 1947 में मुस्लिम लीग ने कहा हम हिंदुओं के साथ नहीं रह सकते, 25 साल नहीं लगे, मुल्क के बड़े हिस्से ने कहा, बंगाली थे, उन्होंने कहा हम पंजाबियों के साथ नहीं रह सकते। एक बार बांटने की आदत डाल लीजिए, फिर आप दीवारें ही उठाते चले जाएंगे।
All right, now massive political war erupts over RSS population policy demand. Now the opposition is going after the BJP and the Sangh over issues, accusing them of increasing communalism. Muslim critics too have slammed the RSS, saying that such statements are irresponsible as there has been a sharp decline in the number of Muslims at the country level. Meanwhile, UP Deputy Chief Minister Brijesh Pathak and BHP have backed RSS demand. Pathak has said population control is basically the need of the hour. This comes after RSS leader Dattatreya Hosabale has said that religious conversion and migration from Bangladesh are causing population imbalance. Hosabale has claimed that population of Hindus decreasing due to conversions taking place in the border areas. Earlier, during the Dussehra festivities address, RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat had then flagged the need of policy for population control as population imbalance can divide countries.
जनसंख्या में पंथ संप्रदाय के प्रमाण में अंतर आने से नए देश बन गए, देश टूट गए। यह असंतुलन जन्मदर एक भाग है उसका, लेकिन जोर जबरदस्ती या छल कपट से, लालच से मतांतरण, ये सबसे बड़ा फैक्टर है। और जहां सीमा पार से घुसपैठ होती है, वहां घुसपैठ से भी ये होता है। उस संतुलन का भी ध्यान रखना देश हित की दृष्टि से अनिवार्य बात है। और इसलिए जनसंख्या की एक समग्र नीति बने, वो सब पर समान रूप से लागू हो, एक बार बनने के बाद किसी को छूट न मिले और समाज इसको स्वीकार कर ले, इसलिए उसके लिए मन बनाकर उसको लाया जाए, इसकी आवश्यकता है।
और मतांतरण होने के बाद अभी और एक प्रश्न भी आया है, अनुसूचित जाति के लोग कन्वर्ट होने के बाद उनको पहले के जो आरक्षण के लाभ मिलना चाहिए, ऐसे एक विचार कुछ लोगों ने चला है। अभी सरकार ने उसके लिए मुख्य न्यायाधीश बालकृष्ण जी के नेतृत्व में एक कमेटी बनाई है। संघ ने पहले से कहा है जो मतांतरित होते हैं उनको इस प्रकार के आरक्षण के जो भी सुविधा है वो नहीं मिलना चाहिए, ये पहले से हमने कहा है।
जनसंख्या विस्फोट वास्तव में एक देश के लिए चिंता का विषय है, और उसमें भी जनसंख्या का असंतुलन जिस तरह से बेतहाशा बढ़ रहा है, उसके कारण देश विभाजन की परिस्थितियां पैदा हुई हैं। देश के अनेक हिस्सों में और अनेक कॉलोनियों में हिंदू पलायन को मजबूर है। धर्मांतरण, लव जिहाद, उन पर हमले और लोभ लालच छल प्रपंच के द्वारा उनका धर्मांतरण, और साथ साथ जो विदेशी घुसपैठिए, चाहे रोहिंग्या मुसलमानों की बात हो या बांग्लादेशी मुसलमानों।
और इसका तीसरा हिस्सा है शहरों की स्वच्छता, शहरों को स्वच्छ बनाना, शहरी जनों के और विशेषकर झुग्गी झोपड़ी में रहने वाले सभी नागरिकों के स्वास्थ्य को इसका फायदा पहुंचे। इसके लिए शौचालयों का निर्माण, वेस्ट टू एनर्जी, क्लीन एनर्जी के इस प्रकार की कारखाने डालना, सोलर रूफटॉप और एलईडी लाइट, इसके माध्यम से हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। और इसके साथ साथ प्रधानमंत्री शहरी आवास योजना, पीएम स्वनिधि योजना और डिजिटल लेन देन का बढ़ावा, ये सब को हम आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। मित्रों, मोदी जी ने स्वच्छता का जो एक अभियान लाल किले की प्राचीर से 2014 में 15 अगस्त को घोषित किया था, 8 साल के अंदर इसके सुंदर परिणाम देश भर में मिलने लगे। अनेक प्रकार के कचरा के ऐसे पहाड़ आज धीरे 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 अदृश्य हो रहे। कचरे के निस्तारण के लिए अनेक संयंत्र लगाए गए, गटर की व्यवस्थाओं को चुस्त दुरुस्त किया गया है और कचरा का कलेक्शन के लिए भी एक साइंटिफिक नेटवर्क कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी और आसाम से गुजरात तक हर शहर हर गांव में बनाने की शुरुआत की। और सिर्फ इतना नहीं किया, आजादी के पहले महात्मा गांधी जी ने इस देश को स्वच्छता का संदेश दिया था, परंतु 70 साल तक सारे लोगों ने महात्मा के इस संदेश को भुला दिया। 2014 में जब मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री बने तब उन्होंने स्वच्छता के संदेश को फिर से जमीन पर संस्कार के साथ उतारने का काम किया है। और ये सारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के साथ साथ स्वच्छता अभियान का आज एक नतीजा है कि आप किसी भी रोड पर जाते हो, चॉकलेट खाकर रैपर अगर डस्टबिन के अंदर नहीं डाला तो साथ में चलता हुआ कोई बच्चा टोक लेगा, अंकल क्या कर रहे हो, कचरे को डस्टबिन में डाल। और सबसे बड़ा काम ये सारे कारखाने बनाना, गटर लाइनें बनाना, ये सारी चीजें तो महत्वपूर्ण है ही, परंतु देश के आने वाली पीढ़ी में स्वच्छता के संस्कार को मोदी जी ने डालने का काम किया है और हम सब में उसको पुनर्जीवित करना। जब तक स्वच्छता जन आंदोलन नहीं बनती तब तक स्वच्छता का परिणाम नहीं मिल सकता है। मित्रों, मेरे पूर्व तीनों वक्ताओं ने दिल्ली के विकास के लिए मोदी जी ने जो जो चीजें कही हैं वो सारी आपके सामने रखी है। मित्रों, और एमसीडी के एकीकरण के बाद मुझे पक्का भरोसा है कि एमसीडी भी ये मोदी जी ने जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाया है इसके साथ एक ऐसा इकोसिस्टम खड़ा करने में सफल होगी जिससे दुनिया में सबसे श्रेष्ठ राजधानी हमारा दिल्ली बन जाए। इस प्रकार का एक इकोसिस्टम हम बनाए। मित्रों, केजरीवाल जी कई प्रकार के हर रोज प्रेस स्टेटमेंट करते हैं, बड़ी बड़ी एडवर्टाइज देते हैं और उन्होंने ये मान लिया है कि प्रेस के इंटरव्यू से ही विकास होता है। उन्होंने ये मान लिया है कि एडवर्टाइज देने से देश की जनता भ्रमित हो सकती है। मित्रों, ये भ्रम 5 साल चल सकता है, 7 साल चल सकता है, मगर धीरे धीरे जनता जानती है। मैं आज दिल्ली की जनता को इतना ही कहने आया हूं, ये आप पार्टी जो है वो दिल्ली को आत्मनिर्भर बनाना चाहती है, हम दिल्ली को आत्मनिर्भर बनाना चाहते हैं। दिल्ली की जनता ने तय करना है कि आत्मनिर्भर दिल्ली चाहिए या आत्मनिर्भर दिल्ली चाहिए। और केजरीवाल जी, आज मैं एक बात यहां से पूछ कर जाता हूं आपको, दिल्ली नगर निगम 3 बने थे, क्यों एकीकृत करने पड़े, क्यों एक बनाना पड़ा? क्योंकि इनके बकाया 40,000 करोड़ से बड़ी राशि आपने दोयम दर्जे का व्यवहार कर नगर निगमों को नहीं दी, जिससे नगर निगम काम करने की स्थिति में नहीं रहे। मित्रों, मैं इतना ही पूछना चाहता हूं, नगर निगम को जो उनका बकाया देना है वो देना चाहिए या नहीं देना चाहिए? आप जोर से बताइए भाई। ये दायित्व तो दिल्ली सरकार का है या नहीं है? इस प्रकार की छोटी राजनीति कर दिल्ली की जनता के साथ द्रोह करने का काम आप पार्टी की सरकार ने किया है। मगर मित्रों, मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कि आप जरा भी चिंता न करिए, भले दिल्ली में आप पार्टी की सरकार हो, ऊपर नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार है। दिल्ली का कोई काम रुकने वाला नहीं। कई सारे फ्लाईओवर लगाना,